Egypt's seen its fair share of historic days in the last 18 months, but few will be more significant. Mohamed Morsi has been sworn in as Egypt's first democratically elected civilian president. It happened about 2 hours ago. Morsi inaugurated in a private ceremony at the Constitutional Court. And then he's just addressed a packed auditorium at Cairo University, making his first speech as the country's president.
The new Egypt will witness a president who is working for the nation and who is a servant to the people. This is my first mission. I am an arbitrator between the authorities, and I will maintain the constitution and the laws, and after the trust put in me by the people in such fair elections under the supervision of the great and fair judges of Egypt, protected and safeguarded by the armed forces and the police, who are fair.
Yes, so a lot of praise there for the armed forces from Mohamed Morsi, remembering he does inherit a country still kind of in political limbo. It doesn't have a constitution, it doesn't have a lower house of parliament, and doesn't have really clarity about the role of the military. Morsi's ability to shape Egypt is already constrained as well by an army decree which limits his powers. The military has assumed parliament's legislative role. It can block out laws that are proposed by the president. But the president does retain some rights of veto. Although Morsi is yet to appoint a cabinet, when he does, it'll be restricted in what legislation it can pass. And perhaps crucially, he will have no control over the military, SCAF as it's known, the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces. Not the president will determine its role and budget. Let's talk more about all of this on a historic day, as we say, with Sherine Tadros, who's live outside Cairo University where that speech happened. And still the crowds are there, soaking in what must be an amazing day there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just catch you up and our viewers up with the end bit of Mohamed Morsi's speech that we didn't broadcast live to you. It was pretty interesting because for the first time we saw Mohamed Morsi talk or touch on matters of international and foreign affairs. He said that Egypt does not export its revolution. We don't expect to have people meddle in our affairs, so we are not going to be meddling in anyone else's affairs. But he did say that Egypt supports the Palestinian people, the Palestinian cause. He says that Egypt also supports the Syrian people and against the, quote, bloodshed that is happening in the country. He didn't mention President Assad by name, but he did talk about support for the Syrian people. He then went on a little bit more domestically to talk about what's important going forward, the priority being the economy. He talked about the need to encourage investment, the need to encourage tourism in the country, and he ended by saying that this is a time when we are not going to go backwards. Egypt will not go backwards. It's a time for Egypt to look forward.
Interesting. If we go back to the point I was making before, and we heard from Mohamed Morsi just before we came to you, Sherine, about the military. I mean, the military just looms large over everything in Egypt, and, you know, Field Marshal Tantawi was there in the front row as Mohamed Morsi said, "I respect you," and I guess that goes down well with the military.
Yes, I mean, he talked in that speech about how the military, in fact, he said it twice. He said the military, who as an institution we love, will go back to their main job, their main duty, which is protecting Egypt's borders. Of course, that is something that people wanted to hear. It's still to be seen whether it's actually going to be practiced, whether the military will actually stop interfering in politics. But that's certainly the idea that Mohamed Morsi wanted to get across. Now, behind me, you can see people gathered. They're not just gathered here in celebration of Mohamed Morsi. They've been shouting for the past hour that he's been speaking, down with military rule. So this may be a day marking the handover of power, but nobody here, at least, is under any illusion as to how much power is being handed over.
Just quickly, Sherine, what was it like there as the speech was given? You've seen pretty much every historic day that Egypt's had since January 25 last year. What was it like out there? I mean, the pictures that we saw inside, if I can use this phrase, the crowd was going wild inside for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is that sense of anticipation, excitement, that perhaps this will usher in a new era, at the very least end an era that has been very difficult over the past 16 months when the military has been such control. This was a very important day for Mohamed Morsi himself. He graduated from the Cairo University almost 40 years ago. He left with a master's degree. He comes back to the Cairo University as Egypt's first democratically elected president. So on a personal level, Mohamed Morsi also talked talked in that speech about how important it is to him, and that message of I am an Egyptian just like every other Egyptian, and that the president must start to serve the people, that being, you know, the new era that people can look forward to. That certainly has a lot of resonance. But again, people are very skeptical here. We just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and he even apologised to the students whose exams had to be moved for his speech. Sherine, Tadros live in Cairo. Thank you so much for that. And here at the desk, Mahjoub Zouairi, who's from Qatar University, has been with us all day listening to this speech there. First little point, you made this point to me actually when we were listening. He took the oath of office again, didn't he? That's 3 times in 2 days, basically.
Yes.
I mean, really asserting himself as the boss.
I think, as we know, that most of the invitees on Cairo University attendance today, most of them, they were actually the member of parliament, both
right.
the both elected bodies.
So because he didn't take the oath in front of the parliament as he should have.
Yeah, and there is also representative of all, I would say, sects, elite in Egyptian. And I think I see this speech generally as a speech for elite, because those who attend the Cairo speech, most of them, they represent the institutions, military and civilian institutions.
Which is why he was so deferential towards the constitution and the military
absolutely.
especially.
And he made very, I mean, and in this speech, I noticed a few points in addition to what I mentioned before. One is actually about the dose of foreign policy was a little bit higher comparing with the previous speech. He spoke about supporting Palestinian cause, and Palestinians inside West Bank and Gaza. He spoke about reconciliation, supporting reconciliation and working on that. He spoke about supporting Syrians and stop the killing of Syrian people. And also he spoke about supporting the Arab League, and he wants Egypt to lead in that process. He spoke about Arab national security. He spoke about that, you know, we should think our national security is part of Arab nation security.
So in short, he's got a lot on his plate. He's got
absolutely,
a lot to do.
And he spoke also about comprehensive peace, which this kind of term we use when we speak about Arab-Israeli issue. And he saw,
not just cold
yes,
peace.
He said we support a comprehensive peace, and I think he made it very clear on these points. And also he confirmed his main issues, which basically internal politics, internal issues of Egypt. And this to me is it's crucial and it's important, simply because Muslim Brotherhood as an organization were accused of being focused on outsider matters. In his third speech today, he actually confirmed to the public that our tension, our issues on the table is actually internal issue. We need to fix our system.
Quickly, Mahjoub, before we run out of time, you've mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood. Does Mohammed Morsi have a hard job ahead of him in distancing himself from the Muslim Brotherhood for the sake of harmony with all of Egypt and the rest of the world?
Politically speaking, he will benefit. Muslim Brotherhood will benefit. If he does mistake, they will be honest and they will be far away from any impact. If he does something wrong, it will be for the sake of the organization. They will gain more in the future. And I think they will focus on that, keep this distance between themselves and the president.
Mahjoub Zouairi from Qatar University, always a pleasure having you here. Thank you.